When you wake, you shall have all the pretty little horses, blacks and bays, dapples and grays, all the pretty little horses. I love these hills and mountains, this winding river, this place where my ancestors settled and made a life. I love all they did here. They lived with full heart and purpose. These mountains and villages, all of Alleghany County echo with the stories they've told us. True stories. And here's one. On an icy cold December night, during the War of Secession, 2,500 Yankee soldiers came through Covington. Between 1850 and 1866, the population of Alleghany County nearly doubled, chiefly as a result of the coming of the railroad as far as the Jackson River and the consequent enlargement of the iron mining industry. When the Civil War began, there were nearly 7,000 people in Alleghany County. It was counted as one of the poorer counties of the Old Dominion. Mostly family farms. The Jackson River winds around the fertile land that became our village of Covington, the county seat. During the Civil War, the hardships were most noticeably felt by the women of Covington, because all the able-bodied men had gone to fight the northern invasion. The shortage of farm labor was most acute, there being times when there was scarcely a boy at home above the age of 12. Younger male slaves were sent away to work in the forges and salt works. The town doctor of Covington, Dr. George Hammond, organized a regiment for the Confederacy. The local men drilled and trained in the courthouse square. Dr. Hammond's passion for the cause was so great that he bid farewell to his wife and children to lead the regiment into battle. Not a man between the ages of 16 and 60 remained in Covington. They had all gone to join the fighting.
In December 1863, Union General William Woods Averill led 2,500 mounted infantry from New Creek, West Virginia, on a surprise raid to Salem, Virginia, with the goal of doing great damage to the Virginia and Tennessee Railroad in Salem, and thereby disrupting Confederate supply lines to the west.
Private property was untouched by my command, and the citizens received us with politeness. It was intimated to some inquisitive ones that we were going back to Buchanan, but about 4 p.m. my command quitted the work of destruction and returned upon the road it came some 7 miles, when it halted for the night. During the night of the 16th, it rained heavily, and also the ensuing day and night. My column was caught in the many windings of Craig's Creek, which was now swollen to a dangerous torrent, which uprooted trees and carried them away. William W. Averill.
In their return from Salem, Averill and his men were in grave danger. The temperature dropped below zero. 11,000 Confederates were closing in from all directions, with General Jubal Early in command. John and Bowdoin, the first Confederate leader to discover Averill's movements, led his cavalry up the Shenandoah Valley. Samuel Jones was in pursuit from Narrows. General Fitzhugh Lee, nephew of Robert E. Lee, moved his cavalry from Charlottesville and was following in Bowdoin towards Covington. General John Eccles guarded the top of Sweet Springs Mountain, over which Averill had passed on his way to Salem. McCausland, Breckinridge, Walker, and Thomas were also in pursuit. Another Confederate brigade under William Lowther Jackson was placing itself in front of Averill, between Covington and Clifton Forge. Colonel Jackson, cousin of the famous Stonewall, had obtained the unfortunate nickname of Mudwall for his previous inability to stop Averill's raiders. He now had another chance to prove his worth.
I'm satisfied that they are moving on the Rich Patch Road route. Information about is that they are moving via Potts Creek and will turn up at Sweet Springs. But I am convinced that they are moving down Rich Patch Road to the Island Ford Bridge into Covington. I directed Lieutenant Boyd to ride rapidly to the bridge and to ensure its certain destruction. Colonel William Lowther Jackson.
Averill's 2,500 frozen horsemen, with ammunition wet and themselves in miserable condition, must avoid a fight. A Union sympathizer from the Rich Patch community showed the Yankees a shortcut to the Island Ford Bridge that the Confederate scouts overlooked. While Colonel Jackson waited in ambush at the base of the main road, Averill's forces stealthily moved around him through an icy, narrow defile to emerge by the river through a railroad culvert. Communication was chaotic. Many dispatches were intercepted or not received. Troop movements were confused. The Confederate and Union forces were just 1 mile apart, with the Yankees slipping by on a small, icy, and perilous trail.
I've dispatched several couriers to the bridge to order its destruction. However, a considerable force of the enemy, by some route that has not been explained to me, has broken through to the bridge.
The approach to the river is through a gorge, below the first bridge. There, the pike from Covington passes along the right bank to Clifton Forge and Jackson's River Depot, where Jackson has 1,000 men. The dispatch from Jones and Early that we captured confirmed their position and gave me the information General Early's division has been added to the forces opposed to our return. I sent a company upon the road to Clifton Forge with orders to dismount and spread out along the road and hold the road until the column passes.
After 2 days and nights of marching and skirmishing with the enemy, about 12 o'clock at night, we reached the mouth of the gap leading through the mountain to Jackson River. General Averill had during the day captured a Confederate courier with dispatches from which he learned the movement of the enemy, and in consequence of imminent danger to his command, was compelled to move rapidly to Jackson River to prevent the enemy from burning the bridge at that point, leaving the train of wagons and ambulances from 10 to 12 miles in the rear. Averill, with the main column, passed out of the gap, charged the enemy that were guarding the bridge, and routed them. The Confederates, under General William L. Jackson, took possession of the gap and quietly awaited the approach of the train. The night was very dark and cold.
I have moved Colonel Arnett up the Rich Patch Road to the point where the enemy turned off and ordered them to close in on the rear. The movement was a success. The command of Averill is divided, one portion across the bridge and the other on this side. Citizens who have known the river all their lives have assured me that it is not possible to cross it at any ford in the county for at least 2 more days of dry, cold weather.
The company was left to hold the bridge for the main body, while the rest of us rushed on to Covington to seize another bridge over the same stream on the opposite side of the town. Moving to Covington, we took the town from the rear. It was midnight and past when our advance entered the sleeping village. Our noise and clatter soon aroused the people. Stables were searched for horses, now so sadly necessary, until quite a number was gathered. The second bridge was easily taken. Lieutenant Wingfield, with a small squad, rode through it to the reserve post and quietly took the bridge. No language can tell the suffering of our men. We've been in the saddle night and day, save for a few hours between midnight and day, for 5 days, 4 of those without food.
Some say Averill's men were generally well behaved, but they took liberty in entering private homes to get warm and took what food they could find. Soldiers entered the home of Annie Scott, where Emma Scott Hammond, the wife of Confederate Colonel George Hammond, was staying with her children.
When you wake, you'll have cake, coach and 6 little horses, blacks and bays, dapples and grays, all are friends.
What's that noise?
I'm afraid it's the Yankees.
Emma, what time is it?
Must be after midnight.
It's the Yankees, all right. They're wearing overcoats.
Oh.
Excuse me, miss. May I come in and warm myself? I'm froze through.
Well, you may as well. Your men have taken over the whole house.
You men, get out! Sergeant, take command of these men! Excuse my men, miss. They have had nothing to eat for days. I will post a sentry outside your door and try to replace your supplies. May I rest a moment by your fire?
At Jackson's River, my column, nearly 4 miles long, was hastened across the first bridge. When all had passed but my ambulances, a few wagons, and a regiment in the rear, an attack was made by Jackson's force. The company on the Clifton Forge Road was driven away, 3 ambulances were captured, and an effort was made to take the bridge, which was unsuccessful. A night attack is always appalling, even to experienced troops. Unavailing efforts were made to open communication with the regiment cut off until morning, when it appeared that the enemy was determined to maintain his position upon the high cliffs which overlooked the bridge. Finding it impossible to dislodge the enemy as long as the bridges remained, I directed them to be destroyed. The enemy at once left the cliffs and endeavored to reach the flank and rear of the regiment which remained on that side.
Sergeant, have the men take those supplies into the kitchen of this house here.
Yes, sir, Lieutenant. Right away.
Willie, don't go too far. We're going to church. Yankees or no Yankees.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Miss, do you have any protection? Any weapon?
No, I do not.
Keep this for your safety. We're pulling out now, Miss Scott. We have orders to burn your town's bridge. It's been a sincere pleasure meeting you.
Averill's command left town by way of the Burke Toll Bridge and headed toward Callahan's. After all crossed, the Yankees set fire to that, the second bridge. The toll house attached to the bridge caught fire. With the windy conditions, it was feared that the entire town might catch fire. The women of the town, dressed in their Sunday go-to-meeting clothes, formed a bucket brigade from the river. An elderly black man, John Hunter, climbed to the roof of the Burke Toll House, and the women handed buckets of water up to him, and together they saved the town.
Another!
Averill had given up on his lost regiment of about 500 men. Fearing that the rest of his troops may also be in jeopardy, he was compelled to move his force toward the safety of their base in the new state of West Virginia.
During the night, the enemy has moved from our front to our rear. supposing that we would not cross the Jackson River. The bridge being long, and the river swollen and full of floating ice and drift. Colonel Blakely brought up the rear with his regiment, skirmishing all the way. The order was given to park the wagons and burn them, which was done at once. Our men then retreated up a narrow path along the river to the ford 2 miles above. Arriving there, we at once plunged into the swollen stream and swam our horses over. The water was bitterly cold, ice cakes floating in it, heavy and close. All made it across, save for 4 men and horses, swept away in the icy torrent and drowned.
Look, Mother, more Yankees.
Their own people burnt Brooks Bridge and now they can't get across themselves.
Look, they're swimming their horses across the river.
The raiders have escaped, not however without damage or loss. The destruction of their wagon train, the capture during my night attack of 150 prisoners, 6 ambulances, complete with horses. Quite a number of the captured horses have proven to belong to citizens from whom they had been taken by the enemy, and these I have restored. There was also recaptured a number of slaves, all of whom, but a few, have been restored to their owners. The others are in jail at Covington. The enemy is most certainly en route to Callahan's and will pass out by Greenbrier County. If he does so, we cannot touch him. Colonel William Lowther Jackson.
Early was late. My command has marched, climbed, slid, and swum 355 miles. William W. Averill.
Rumors of a major battle to be fought in southwestern Virginia circulated around the Alleghany Highlands. The sad truth of the Yankee victory arrived with a wounded and exhausted courier.
Boy. Take us to the courthouse.
Yes, sir.
Oh my God in heaven. could you do this to Emma? You know your lieutenant is with the 7th West Virginia Cavalry. The 7th West Virginia was at Cloyd's Mountain. That's where Dr. Hammond was killed. I forbid you to continue this correspondence. You'll receive no more letters from that lieutenant. I'll make sure of that.